Testing, 1 2 1 2. Welcome to House Culture Conversations and our guest today, GQuick Productions. What's happening, GQuick?
I'm good. How you doing, my brother? Good to see
Hey,
you, D.
I cannot complain. It is Saturday. The sun is shining, and I don't have anything to do after this interview. How
Okay.
about that? So
Well,
it's
I'm gonna
all
watch
about
some Knicks.
me.
I'm gonna watch my Knicks. See how we do.
Well, yes, right. I'm gonna get to relax and watch some basketball and chill out. But usually, I got to run to something else, run to something
Right.
here, run to something there. But tonight, I'm excited. So I'm gonna take my time with this
Same
one
here. I'm
and
glad to be with you,
really,
brother.
yes, lean in. So, hey, first off, that's my jam. Breeze DBL, welcome in. Thank y'all for joining us on House Culture Conversations. You could be anywhere on a Saturday and you choose to spend a little time with me and our guest today, G Quick. So big love to you. Massive shouts and massive thanks. So tell us how you doing.
I'm good, brother. I'm glad to be here. I'm another day on this earth, blessed, and that's all I can ask for is just another day of life.
Another day of life. Okay. That's these days, that's good.
That's a blessing.
That's real good. That's real good. Tell us a little bit about you, where you're from, where you grew up.
Yes, born and raised in New York City, Harlem, to be exact. All my life, like I said, born and raised here in the what we call the Mecca of Black culture is Harlem, New York. That's where everybody came, and like I said, born and raised here. Left for few years, joined the military, uh, served, and came on back to Harlem. Like I said, there's no place I would rather be other than Harlem. If I had to be anywhere in New York City, it'd have to be Harlem. So
Absolutely. DJ Get Down Chicago. Welcome in.
I
Good to
see
see
you.
you.
Get down. What's up, brother? Salute.
So tell us a little bit about how what were your musical influences growing up? Did you have music in the house? Did you play
Oh,
music while you had to clean the house? Did you do the Temptations
well,
imitation?
yeah. Like I said, we grew up project. I grew up in the projects, which I'm a proud person. It was always music in the house. My grandmother, we all lived under my grandmother's roof. Me, my mom, her sisters, cousins, and until we got old enough when my mom went out and got her own place. But we all was in the same couple bedroom apartment in the projects, and there was constant music going on. That I think that's where I got my love for music. There was always music on in the radio, and we would just listen to Temptations, Supremes, and all that Motown stuff, and stuff coming out of Philly at some point, and that's where I got the love for music from.
Now, what was your favorite jam back then?
Back then, wow, it was hard to say. I mean, I used to love Temptations. Just My Imagination was one of my favorites. It was a slow jam, but I just loved Eddie Kendricks. How he sung that.
Oh yes.
So that was one of my favorite jams. I loved a lot of Nina Simone. Really, it was crazy. As a kid, I remember just playing Four Little Girls. I mean, what's the song? Four women. And I would know that song as a kid. I didn't understand the meaning of the song, but I just know I loved it, and it touched me in a certain way. So that was another favorite, growing up, playing that. We had that on the 45. I would play that constantly.
What's a 45?
I hear you, brother.
Yeah, we got people in the audience might not know the 45.
Well, that's all we had until the late 70s when the 12-inch came out. I mean,
12-inch, man.
Yeah,
going to the record store is like going to a museum.
Yeah, I remember. The first 12 I brought was called "Do It the French Way" by what was the group name? It was called "Do It the French Way." I can't think of the group's name, but it slips me at this point. But that was my first 12-inch I ever bought. I remember
that one. Now I think my first one was a French cut, "Problems d'Amour" or something like that. I think.
Okay.
In high school.
Yeah.
But yes, a lot of them Euro cuts back. Now, how'd you get into house music?
House. How did I get in a house? Was basically, as Frankie would put it, disco's revenge for me because I was a big disco person. So naturally, when house entered the scene, it wasn't too far from disco in terms of the 4/4, you know, beat, the high 120 or 120 better. So it was easy right there to get into it. Like I said, I had a lot of friends from Chicago that I knew in the military, so they would, like I said, give me tapes, and that's how I heard a lot of the stuff coming out of Chicago, like Marshall Jefferson and Jamie Principle and cats like that. And that's how I got introduced to. And then I knew everything on Trax label I would buy up, whether I liked it or not. I knew the history of Trax record, but I just know, okay, grab that because that's coming out of Chicago. It's got to be something on here, and the JM Silks and stuff like that, Steve Silk, Hurley. So I knew all of that, and it just worked. Like I said, it was just a slow progression from disco to that. So
now, GQuick, since your lifeline, Crown Heights is I think who you were trying.
That's what yeah, exactly. Crown Heights Affair.
Yes, DJ Get Down Chicago, a music connoisseur. He knows his music.
Yes.
Glad to have you in the chat, brother, for the save. Now, when you first heard house music, how did it hit you? Was it like, oh, that's interesting? Or were you like, man, that's hot?
Basically that. It's hot because like I said, I could identify it with disco. So that it was a natural progression for me. I was like, wow, this reminds me of this. So I could play this with this, just the beats were a little different. Some of the singing, but I was like, but it still reminded me of classic R&B. Some of the stuff that had high BPMs and a lot of the, like I said, the disco stuff. So to me, it was just a natural progression that I was like, okay, I could work with this.
Yeah. Now, why do you think house, continues to be so pervasive, across not just the U.S. anymore? It's a worldwide phenomenon, many genres. We talk about house, and it's still underground. It's still our music. Why do you think that is?
Well, I think, in that respect, I think it's kind of like everybody's invited to the party. And I think sometimes I don't like the way everything is labeled as house because I don't think everything is house.
Okay.
So I think that kind of throws me sometimes because I don't consider everything to be house. I think anything that, like I said, when it has a certain BPM, everybody just labels it as that type of house music where it's not, because at some point I can listen to some African music, but at some point it loses me because either it's just all beat driven and I'm like, okay, I got to have some singing, or I got to have something that, gives me a sense of like a church or something, but I just can't listen to beats all day long and be like, okay, go from one beat to the next. I'm like, okay, I'm lost now. I begin to kind of tune out.
Yeah, Dennis Gregory gave a great like master class on that. He was like, hey, look, one, play the song.
Right.
Now y'all doing tricks and cutting the middle and how to play the song. The song was written to be played as it was created. Now, obviously, you want to do some blends, take the bass out, have fun with it, but let the music play.
Right.
And, don't just have all these beats playing in a long series, play some vocals.
Right.
Play a beat and then get back to the vocals, because you got to think you're trying to inspire the audience, because to your point, house is a feeling. House is a spiritual thing. If you're sitting there just hearing just a bunch of beats banging in your ear, to your point, it loses the essence of what house is. That's a very interesting perspective. Some things that you hear you wouldn't consider house. It's very interesting.
Right. Well, some people want something they can sing along to. It. That's what I always feel. You want something to sing along to, like, oh, I know that song because I know the melody, or I know the lyrics.
Oh my goodness. Yes, you claim to be my man, but see me when you can.
Touch and go. Yeah.
That's it. You just And then it just you get caught up in that, and the music is like so loud, and it's just going in and through you and around you. It is truly a special experience, and not everybody gets house.
Well, you know what? It's a combination of so many different genres. You got church in there, you got R&B,
Yeah,
you got jazz in some respects, and it's all mashed into
yeah.
one. And that's what Well, we as black people, we're gonna take what's left over and we're gonna make something great out of it.
We're gonna say gumbo, right? We're gonna
There you
do
go.
it's
We're gonna
like
make
that's it.
something. We're gonna make it work.
Absolutely. That is absolutely right. Now, who are some of your inspirations when it comes to house music? Whether that's just the music or being a DJ,
Wow.
who've been some of your inspirations?
Uh, as I've said it before, most people that know me, like I said, I learned how to mix from Timmy Regisford. That was
Hmm.
my go-to guy, because he was playing on WBLS when I was just record tapes and just listen. And then also he was a big producer for Colonel Labels, which was my original voice for house was Colonel to me.
The Colonel.
The Colonel had that voice that he just synonymous. His voice was just synonymous with house. So I
Oh,
was like,
now
and
do you think he's one of the early creators of house music?
I wouldn't say creators, but I think I would put him on that Mount Rushmore of
Hmm.
singers, like those singers, like Colonel Voice, Lolita Holloways and those type of, that was more
Hmm.
R&B, but it just, like I said, it morphed into house. Um,
Yes, yes, definitely at Mount Rushmore.
Inspirations,
Hmm.
other like I said, I never got to hear or got to see Ron Hardy play, but I would hear tapes, and Ron was a big inspiration just for him, taking chance. He was a risk taker to me. Some of the things he did playing stuff backwards, and Ron was just like, I was like, oh, who is this guy? And I would hear, I knew the songs he was playing, but I was like, yo, how's he playing that backwards? How's he doing this?
Oh my gosh, yeah, yeah. I mean, he would do anything. Everything was open game. I love that you brought his name up. Breeze EBL put CC Rogers
Yes.
in the chat. Hmm.
Someday, the big song, Someday was his big hit. CC Rogers, yes.
Yes, yes, and in Chicago, we always have this conversation,
Mhm.
about who was the originator of house in
Right.
Chicago, and there's
Uh-huh.
Frankie Knuckles and Ron Hardy, and it's kind of two schools
Right.
of thought there, but they're both extremely important when you look at the history
Uh-huh.
house music and Chicago in particular.
Right.
Talk a little bit about, we always say Chicago is where house music started, but there's a lot of debate about what does that mean. And a lot of people say, yeah, you owned it and made it your own, but a lot of the
Mhm.
music was imported.
Right.
Mm,
Well, for me, like I said, I came from the school of, we never called it house music in New York. We called it
yeah,
club music
yeah.
because that's the music we heard in the clubs. So it necessarily, when God rest his soul, when Frankie Crocker was alive on BLS, he was a big frequent, person to the club. So what he heard at the clubs, he would make sure it got played on BLS as a programmer. He could,
Hmm.
put on what he wanted to, and that's how we heard a lot of those songs coming out of the clubs. So again, we never considered it house music. We just called it club music. But I understand, the history of the name or how it got that name, and hey, if that's what people identify with it, then hey, all power to them. But I don't know if it's a Chicago thing. Like I said, I think it's just a, a cultural thing in terms of, I would say more East Coast than anywhere.
Hmm.
Between New York, DC, Baltimore, Chicago. Even though Chicago's what, Midwest, but it's
Right.
still, you know you don't hear it like that out west, because I have friends out west and they say, oh, we don't have, we don't hear the house music like you guys do, or it's
Yeah.
not popping like, in Jersey or these type of places. So
And Breeze DBL reminded you of Larry Heard.
Larry Heard, classic, yeah, Mr. Fingers, you know he revolutionized the game, I would say, in terms
I'm
of
telling you,
his production.
you go back and there's just so many people that contributed just amazing music as the genre, took off in the early
Yeah.
days. And quite frankly,
Hmm.
it has blown up. I
Yeah.
mean, there's so much music, and I would say good music. I mean, you got to be careful out there, right?
Hmm.
One of the things I'm learning is that when you get a re-edit, make sure you check it, because not
Yes.
everybody's mastering, not everybody's ensuring that sound is going to come through when you take it out to play it in public, right?
Well, that was one of the big deals coming out of the stuff that Trax was producing, being that Larry Sherman was reproducing like old records and refurbishing old records and trying to cut new records. So a lot of the stuff that I could pull out of my collection, and I'm like, oh, a lot of it's not the best quality, but
Yes,
I
yes.
knew, like I said in the conversation we had earlier, I was just grabbing anything that I saw the label Tracks on. I was just grabbing it.
Well, hey, I tell you what, it's probably worth a small fortune today. You got Lil Lewis,
Oh,
Lil Lewis. I
wow.
tell you what, Breeze is making it hard on us.
Yeah, Little Lewis. Yeah, another one. Yes. Yes.
Unbelievable. Now, when did you actually start DJing? And did you DJ out publicly in clubs and high school or anything like that?
Yes. Yes. I started in 1981 is when I
Mm.
bought my first setup. I was in the military, so I had money and I was able to get to certain places where, electronics was big, especially when I went to Japan. So I was able to get, my turntables and mixes. And so I started actually playing, like I said, in 81 and never stopped to this point, like until, I still love it, still play. I miss playing vinyl because I don't have the room in my where I play at. I don't have the setup to play vinyl as well as have my turntable set up in my controller. So, but that was the challenge back. That's when you really had to be on your game when you were playing vinyl. You know, there
Oh
was
my
no,
God,
there was
carrying
no
crates of records,
unforgiving,
yeah,
unforgiving.
trying to match beats that
Yes,
aren't. You got live drummer playing. He ain't
yes,
necessarily on the one.
yes. A lot of people don't know that when you play them classics, that's a live band playing. So it would drift. A lot of people didn't know that. Like, so you had to know how to play with the pitch, and speed it up and slow it down, but that was what made you a good DJ.
That made you an incredible DJ,
Yes.
because I will tell you what, I have tried to play some classics
Uh-huh.
today
Uh-huh.
with some of the new tracks.
Don't
Man,
work.
I'm sweating. I am sweating.
Yeah.
I'm like, this is not going to work. I'm just going to have to echo it out and fade it on in, and
Yeah.
maybe they
Yeah.
won't notice, right?
Yeah.
But I'm like, how did I mix this stuff back in the day?
Well, you had to get in point and a get out point. So it was like, and a lot of stuff we slammed. That was it wasn't time to do like some like long blends. You had to slam some.
You slamming stuff. Yeah, that's right. You have it and you have it playing and counting, and you
Right.
just waiting to shift it over. You just be like,
Exactly.
boom. You're like, yeah,
Exactly.
oh.
We telling our age, brother.
Yes, yes. You be slamming half the. Now that you mention that, you're right. You be slamming a lot of tracks.
Yes.
Yes, indeed, because you couldn't match the beats up really well. It was really hard to do.
Because like I said, it was a live band playing.
And the drummer wasn't on the one. Wait a minute. Ron Hardy used to slam a lot.
Yeah.
That's it. That's it. Long as it sounds good and the people don't. I'll never forget what one of my friends told me, hey, wherever you do, man, just make sure they don't stop dancing on the dance floor.
Yeah, exactly.
If they still moving, you good. Yeah,
Right.
you
But
stop the
you know
dance.
what? I've seen the best have bad nights.
Exactly. It's gonna happen.
Yeah.
I mean, it's law of averages. You don't. You had that one track you was waiting to play.
Right.
And you like put it in and you were like, woo, and then everybody looking at you like,
Yeah.
what's
Or you
that?
get that pop or skip
Oh
in the
no,
middle of a mix
or the needle goes straight across like that.
because we got dirt on the needle.
If
Yeah,
you
yeah,
ever had that one, that is like, oh,
yeah.
that's the
That,
worst.
now it's like, okay, how do I recover?
Well, yeah, exactly. And really, there's nothing you could do but
Yeah.
stop, put on another track,
Right. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
throw
Hopefully,
up a
yeah,
peace, throw up a peace sign,
Right.
drinks on me,
Right. But like
keep
you
it
said,
moving.
we weren't robots back then. We
That's
had to
it.
actually, we had to work.
That's it. Yeah, your DJ get down. So skip man, oh man. There
Yeah.
you go. Oh my goodness. Now tell us a couple of your favorite house stories when you were coming up, whether that was seeing a DJ or
Yeah,
being
yeah.
at an
Well,
event.
if anybody knows, New York, if you're a New Yorker, walking up that ramp at Paradise at 84 King Street, that was like the highlight. You were going in somewhere special when you walked up that ramp and you heard that music playing and you were just about in. And that was like, that was everything to me. Just just like, wow, you know, walking up that ramp in 84 King Street, because it was nothing like that sound system. That sound system was everything.
Man, and there was some amazing sound systems. I know, in Chicago at the warehouse,
Uh-huh.
at the box, and a couple of other places, they just had incredible sound systems. Now, I wasn't old enough to get into some of these spots,
Right.
but you didn't have to. You
Mhm.
could sit outside
That's
and
what I
gather
heard.
outside the club, and you actually probably saved yourself because your eardrums would be blown. I
Right.
mean, the music was so loud, and the bass. I mean, the building shook. I
Right.
mean, the sounds were just hitting so hard. But yeah, man, the sound was everything. You're listening to House Culture Conversations. We're hanging out with GQuick Productions and just catching up on the music and the culture that we love so much. Thank you for joining us. It's a pleasure. It means more than you'll ever know. So, hey, what's another one of your favorite memories?
Oh, let's see. Real quick, I'm trying to think. So many. That one was a fave. Um, Really, at the one point, going record shopping was a highlight
Mm,
too. Just going and digging and trying to come up with that song that nobody had at the time. And I often feel that we've gotten so far away from breaking records. Remember when we used to break records, like just play them and get people to and get into it as much as we felt like, oh, this is a hit right here. Let's play
yeah,
this. I'm gonna play this every week until you begin to like it.
yeah,
But we've gotten away from. I think we have so much access to music that we don't
right.
take the time to play something enough where people like, oh, I heard that somebody play that before. Oh, I
Hmm.
like that. Yeah, what's the name of that record? And we've gotten away from that. It's just like,
Yeah.
okay,
Now,
everything
like if you play a song, oh, he played that last week.
right,
He
because
playing the
they
same
they
music
want
over and over.
yeah. But I'm like, I remember we would listen to a song maybe all summer. That was the song, for the summer, and
That's it. That's it. Hey, Ray, Big Rowdy, welcome in. Jersey Girl 21. So
my
good to see
girl, hey
you.
sis.
Yes, indeed. It is a pleasure to have you. House Culture Conversations, hanging out with G Quick, just reminiscing about some of the
Yes, yes.
days gone by. But let's talk about now.
Mhm.
Tell us a little about live on Linux. I hear you refer to that often when you're streaming and when you're playing. This is G Quick live on Linux. What's the story?
Well, the story with that is that I'm again Harlem. I live. I live on Lenox Avenue, so that was when I finally got everything together and I was ready to go live. That was going to be the title of my show, My House Live on Linux. That was the name of the show, and that was how that term was born. I always wanted to say that, and you'd always hear me say music for the soul. That's
Mm,
my kind of catchphrase, and I always wanted to play music that touched your soul. So I grew up with music that hit me in the soul. So that's the type of music that I wanted to play, something that was soulful. I love soulful house. I think that's the key to it all to me, soulful house. that song, that voice, like that Lolita Holloway voice or the
Oh
Colonel
my
Abrams sound,
Oh yeah,
soulful.
absolutely, absolutely. Chill Bill, what's happening? Mental Monarchs in the building. Salute. Thanks for vibing with us. House Culture Conversations. So hey, so we got live on Linux.
Yes.
What is GQuick? Where'd that
Wow.
come from?
That
What's the
came
story?
from my early days when I first started DJing. I was a hip hop DJ. I
Mm,
was into hip hop before I got into uh playing, house music or dance music. So I was really good at backspinning and catching, and that's how the quick came in. Friend like, oh,
mm.
you quick, you real quick with cutting and scratching. I was like, yeah, and then it stuck. So that's where the G quick came from.
Okay. Now we know. Now we know live on Linux and GQuick. Now,
Yeah.
what about productions?
Well, production is something that I put on the end because I always felt whenever I hit play, I wanted to put on a production. I didn't want to just put on
Mm,
and play. I wanted to make it like a performance. I wasn't gonna perform in terms of anything animated, but I always wanted my sets to be like a production, like it was a start, a middle, and then an end. So I
mm.
always would, that's where the G Quick production came in. You're always gonna get a production when you hear me play. It's always gonna be a production.
He's always going to tell a story.
Some kind of way. I'm gonna do something. I'm gonna tell you. I'm gonna get you to have a good time.
That's it. Now, hey, I've sat in on a lot of your sets,
Appreciate you.
and I will tell you that what I enjoy the most
Mhm.
is your historical context. So you will play, current stuff, but they always feel contextualized around the heart and soul of house music.
Mhm.
If that makes any sense.
Yes.
You'll play some layers of different things that keep me like remembering, right? So I never forget where I come from when I listen to one of your sets. Talk a little bit about that.
Oh, you talking about the classics?
Classics, hey, that's what DJ Get Down says is classics. But even if you play something new,
Uh-huh.
it doesn't feel like I'm in, oh, he's playing the new stuff. It's
Right.
like it's a tapestry. It's almost like it's a beautiful mosaic that you put together that pays honor to the history and
Uh-huh.
also acknowledges the future of the music.
Well, like I said, when I'm putting together a set, I'm always pulling from different places. I'll go onto different sites and see what's in the top 100, but I won't necessarily play what's number one because sometimes I'll hear somebody play something that I'd never heard before or I missed because
Mm.
there's no way you could hear everything. So I'm always looking for old stuff that I didn't get a chance to, you know, get a copy of, and I'm like, oh, that's hot there. And I look up that record is 12 years old. I'm like, how did I miss this? And then I'll start to play that along with some of the new stuff. So I'm always looking to, you know, an even blend of everything. Everybody knows me like for the classics, but like I said, I just want to hear a well thought out set. I can go on and just play and just pick stuff and play, but I always want to play stuff that I feel that I think people should hear because I think that's the job of a DJ is to introduce new music, whether to the listeners, as well as it may not be everybody's cup of tea, but I think you should, play stuff that you think as a DJ, hey, I think somebody should hear this record. And that's where I alluded earlier to the point of getting back to breaking records, to where we don't play things enough to say, oh, this is a hot record. Let's give this some shine. This one with
Hmm.
that, and it's all how you play it too. I think it's all how you play it.
Yeah, no doubt. No doubt. Hey, well, has been something. Tell folks when you're on and when they can catch you.
Well, I'm always on uh Twitch Tuesdays. That's from 6 to 8 on Tuesday nights. Some of the Twitch family comes through, and Twitch Tuesday family. Uh, every Sunday, Straight Fire with Straight Fire Brothers. My brothers, Get Down, KGB, Real, those brothers, Tron Blaze, and I think they're starting to add a few more. Eddie Mo has just come on with us, so that, and then I had a set called Uptown Friday Night, the mix that was from every Friday night from 10 to midnight. I'm thinking about revitalizing that. I'm trying to figure out how I can spend time doing that, but I'm thinking about doing that. I have a few shows, and a lot of those you can catch on Mixcloud. I used to post them up on Mixcloud. So
well, folks, you heard it right here. You can go catch him. Amazing, amazing selector. Paying tribute to the history, but also, showing love to all the wonderful genres that we have in house music with a focus on soulful. So make sure you check them out. I appreciate your time. This has been fun. I've had a blast getting to know more about you and where you come from, and we're going to be looking for you live on Linux.
I appreciate you, brother. Really, I
Absolutely.
really appreciate you. Thank you.
Yes, that's a lot of fun. Now, hey, I see DJ Blaze Music on the set. So we're going to go over there and bug him a little bit and see what's what. Everybody else on Twitch, just hang tight. We're going to go kick the door down over there with DJ Blaze Music. And then for everybody on YouTube, Facebook, we'll catch you next time.
Salute.
All right, we gotta wait and see what we got. It looks like DJ Blaze Music is still playing. That's good. Okay.
That's my brother Blaze.
That's it. Let's go have fun with him. All right, everybody is on the way there. Once again, thank you guys so much for hanging out with us on House Culture Conversations, and we'll catch you next time. Hey, GQuick, sit tight.
I'm with you. Thank you, brother.